Morning, good people. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are. I just want to discuss something very briefly, and this is co-functions. I think it's just a simple way of understanding co-functions. So let's do it. So the first thing that I do with regard to co-functions, of course, now this is trigonometry. So what I want to do here is I want a simple way to remember these co-functions. So at this stage you're supposed to be familiar with reduction formula. So this video is for people who are in grade 11 and 12 who have done trigonometry. So just want to draw my Cartesian plane roughly so, and obviously I have my x-axis, my y-axis. Normally I write the negative y and the negative x, and then it's easy that way for me to know that y is positive going up, y is negative going down, x is positive going to the left, x is negative going to the right. Very simple basics. Now co-functions have to do with two angles, basically 90 degrees and 270 degrees. So we know that in the first quadrant we have 90 degrees minus theta. In the second quadrant we have 90 degrees plus theta, and in the third quadrant we have 270 degrees minus theta, and in the fourth quadrant we obviously now have 270 degrees plus theta. And those are your co-functions in a very simple nutshell. Now remember that co-functions have to do with only two trig ratios, which is sine and cos. So basically I know that when I have 90 minus, sine is going to change into cos, and cos is going to change into sine. So now in here I know that sine is going to change, cos is going to change into sine, and it's going to be positive, and cos is also going to be positive. And in here I know that now sine is going to be negative and cos is going to be positive. That's now in the second quadrant. And what I want to do from this stage is I want to sort of like cross multiply. So the moment I cross multiply, I go from quadrant 1 to quadrant 3. Since both of them are positive, in here both of them are going to be negative. So I just cross multiply across the two quadrants, quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. And I can do the same thing for quadrant 2 to 4. Since sine is negative, sine is now going to be positive, and cos is going to be negative. And you obviously cross multiply this way. So you just need to remember that in the first quadrant, both of them are positive, and in the second quadrant, sine is negative, cos is positive. And cross multiply from the first quadrant to the third, both of them are now negative. Cross multiply from the second quadrant to the fourth, sine was now negative, now it's positive, and cos was positive, it's now negative. So what is the summary of all this? This can help you remember that now when you have sine of 90, sine of 90 degrees minus, let's cancel that part out because the pen is not so clear, but I just want to write the summary next to it. So now this is telling me that when I have sine of 90 minus theta, it's going to be positive cos of theta. And when I have cos of 90 degrees minus theta, it's going to be sine of theta. So because both of them are positive. And then when I now have sine of 90 plus theta, it is going to be now equal to cos of theta. Cos of theta. And when I have cos of 90 degrees plus theta, is now negative sine of theta. And I can also do the same for 270 plus. When I have sine of 270 degrees plus theta, it's now going to be negative cos theta. And when I have cos of 270 degrees plus theta, it has to be now positive cosine of theta, positive sine of theta. And now in this one, where we have now sine of 270 degrees minus theta, the answer now is obviously going to be negative cos of theta. And then cos of theta is 270 minus theta is now negative sine of theta. It's negative. Okay. So something that makes it simple for us to remember, what we just need to be able to do is understand this part. Just know that when you have 90 degrees, either plus or minus, or you have 90 degrees minus or plus, sine will always change to cos, and cos will change to sine. Okay. So now if we can just recap, I draw my Cartesian plane, and then I have 90 degrees minus theta, I have 90 degrees plus theta. Okay, and we know that sine changes to cos and cos changes to sine. And then now I have 270 minus theta and 270 plus theta. Now, like we said before, both of them are positive in here, so it's sine of theta and then it's cos of theta. So when you have 90 minus, your cos is going to change into positive sine, your sine is going to change into positive cos. And then now you just want to do that cross multiply. So as soon as you cross multiply, then you know now that they are both going to be negative in this particular quadrant, because now both of them are positive, both of them are now going to be negative. Simple like that. And in here we know that sine is going to be negative and cos is positive. So obviously now when we cross multiply, now they just swap the signs. So now sine is now positive and cos is now negative. So just helps you remember, just to recap, when we have 90 minus changes, the sign changes to cos, the cos changes to sine. So it's just for you to know that the sign is going to be positive in there. 90 plus, the sign is now going to change into cos, which is now positive cos. The cos is going to change into sine, but it's now negative sine. And from there we just cross multiply. Cross multiply, that means now the sine is going to change into a negative cos, the cos is going to change into a negative sine, and on the second quadrant you will have negative sine and positive cos. They just swap the signs. So the most important thing is just to remember this particular diagram here. Helps us a lot in terms of remembering co-functions. Okay, helps us a lot in terms of remembering co-functions. I did it with my students, they loved it. I will explain it again if I need to. Comment in the video, on the comments, if you understand what's happening here. How do you like that summary? Should I repeat or should I make it shorter, the explanation? Just tell me what you think. Okay, people, I just want to do this example, how to now use this tool that I've just shown you. So when you have a question with a 90 minus or 90 plus, just remember that now you draw your little diagram, and we all know that in here it's 90 degrees minus, it's 90 degrees plus theta, and I know that in here is 270 minus theta, and I have 270 plus theta. Okay, and I know that sine is positive, cos is positive, and that means that now sine is negative, and that now cos is also negative. Yes, and also sine is now negative, and then now cos is now positive, and obviously we now cross multiply. So sine is now positive, cos is now negative. Okay, try and remember that comes from the initial work I was showing you guys there in terms of co-functions. And so now I don't want to make the video too long. Just do this example now, how I use it. So I say now sine of 90 degrees minus theta. I know it's going to change into cos. It's in here. Cos is positive. If you want to, you can pause the video. Do it, see if we get the same answer at the end. So now I have sine 90 minus theta. I know it's in the first quadrant. Cos is going to be positive. So now positive cos of theta multiplied by cos of 90 minus theta, still in the first quadrant. I know sine is going to be positive. So multiplied by sine of theta all over. I have sine of theta multiplied by now cos of 90 plus theta. I know that one is in the second quadrant. Has to change into sine, but sine is now negative. So I am now going to be having negative sine of theta. And as you will see that now I have got this positive sine of theta and positive sine of theta, and I'm left with cos of theta divided by negative sine of theta, which should be negative cos divided by sine of theta. That I can leave as my final answer. You know, some people are now used to identities. They may want to change this into the identity and say now the answer is now negative 1 over tan of theta. That's if you are now using the identity, but I will still speak about identities in other videos. Just want to do a second example very quickly. Okay, now a second example, just to recap on the first example. Sine will change into cos, it's positive. Cos will change into sine, it's positive. And then this cos here is plus, it's in the second quadrant, but it's going to be negative sine. And the rest is all there for everyone to see. So now example 2, I just want to leave this video under 20 minutes. Hopefully it's not too long. In future I'll try and make them very, very short and quick, but I just wanted to get the point across. Now you still have your diagram there. Hopefully you've written down the diagram. It's much clearer to see. The quality of this particular camera is not 100%, but hopefully you can see them. So obviously this one is now sine 90 degrees plus x. It's obviously now in the second quadrant. Cos is positive, so I'm going to have cos of x. And now I have sine of 90 minus first quadrant. We all know that cos is going to be positive. I have plus there. Now this is something new because we always have 90 minus or 90 plus. Now it's theta minus. So cos, we have cos of theta minus 90. I don't want the minus, I don't want the negative. So whenever I have a negative, a theta minus negative, not even theta, sorry, it's supposed to be x. because I'm dealing with x, so it has to be x. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say plus 360, and this will obviously now be 1 plus, now I have cos of x plus 270. Now since now I have a positive there, now I can just rewrite them and have 1 plus cos 270 degrees plus x. Now when it's minus, I cannot rewrite them and start with negative 90 plus x. I can if I'm using a different method, but I prefer just adding 360 because it works and it's correct. Some other people may use different methods, like taking out the common fact, taking out the negative, but I prefer the 360. And then now the last thing to do is to say, okay, cos 270 plus is in this quadrant here, the fourth one, whereby now sine is going to be positive, so it's plus sine x. So, and that should be our final answer there. Hopefully you've learned from this video. Hopefully it's not too long. We'll try and make the qualities better in future. Thank you.